I am here. I am going. For those of you watching this later on and not live, this is the very first, I guess, event of the what we're calling right now the Window Film Shine program, the Window Film Shine Apprentice program. Shine stands for what is it? Structured. I don't even know it. Structured, hands-on, industry-based experience, and it's a program that we're working to build. This based mainly on initially starting out with building a structured high school class that can be done over 1 to 2 years, basically like a junior and senior year, on over into even eventually building out a apprentice and like an apprenticeship accreditation program is what we're looking to do. So just want to say thanks everyone for jumping on. This is going to be as interactive as we can get it. Like I've got a lot of things going on up here in my head that I want to put down onto the proverbial paper. And this is something where I want anyone who wants to come in and be a part of this, like please come in, please join on the stream. I'll put a link if you want to come on, just throw in the chat that you want to help. What's up, Dustin? I'm sorry, I know there's a few different lives going on. I guess the WFR live was going on. I didn't know when that was going to be over. And then we even I messed up and I scheduled right on top of Chilling with Chayla. Michelle Gonzalez is starting her show tonight. So if you'd rather be over there, I completely understand. It'll probably be a lot more entertaining than this will be, because this is going to be actually like meeting number one to start building this thing out. I've got my Word document over here, to get things going. Like I said, I've already got an idea what's in my head, but the big thing here is the overall goal. I guess the overall goal is to build the apprenticeship program live, and take input and take, what everyone's willing to share and be a part of it with. And at first, we're going to build it through a high school class to help out Mr. Buhanda, guy known as Jesus Buhanda, is a high school teacher down in, I think it's called Edgewater, Colorado, in Jefferson County, maybe Edgewood. I get those backwards. It's one of those two. Jesus, if you're on here, feel free to comment it, because I get those messed up back and forth. Yeah, so I appreciate you guys being here. So, this might end up being a boring show, but we will find out. It would be more fun if people want to come on and be a guest. Otherwise, it might just be me in here building some stuff, man. So I appreciate you guys from jumping in. So the way I kind of envisioned some of this, it was kind of starting off with like, what if someone comes in and knows nothing about, like, not even just like general shop upkeep, but like, how do you got to keep a shop when you're doing window tinting, right? When I was being first trained to do window tint, I came from the stereo world, and I came in and I'd get in the morning and I'd grab the broom and I'd start sweeping up, man. And then the guy training me was like, whoa, what are you doing, man? I was like, I'm sweeping up, man. It's dirty, right? We gotta get this going, right? And he reminded me even like the little things of like, no, we don't sweep in the morning, man. Like if you want to sweep, we sweep in the evening. But in the morning, we don't want to stir all the dirt up into the air and then, sweep the shop up, then pull a car in and start tinting, And I'm just like, those little things like that. Like, so I feel like that would be a good spot to start. And again, I'm gonna do this. If any of you guys, I know sometimes it's weird what's up, Gilbert? I know sometimes it's weird being on, live, being on camera. And I totally understand if you don't want to. Pretty cool with me. But if you do want to, click that button. And that should work. That says event, nothing at the end, but okay, I see what's going on. So yeah, if you want to be on, click that button. You'll show up down in the low, and I'll bring you in, and we'll chat. We'll chat live about it. So I figure a good place. I figure we start off with like an overarching kind of like how do we put it? Main stuff. Like, you got shop upkeep, right? Which is getting the shop ready for a window tint and PPF. And then you move into, I guess, the actual car side of it. If that makes sense. Like, okay, now we got the shop ready and the shop's been kept up, picking trash up, what to do with blades, how to be safe with those, film, how to be safe with film. I guess that's part of the tinting side of it. But it's part of maybe general shop upkeep. But then even, what is it? Once you pull the car in, like what can someone do who's especially there? Button. Hey, Seuss, if you look in the actual chat, there's a link It's showing up here right down low. I mean, I know you can't click that link, but if you get into the actual chat feed, I guess, on Facebook, where you're seeing your messages that aren't here, that are down low in the messages, there should be a link down there you can click. And if you click that link, it'll bring you over. You might have to create your, put your name in, that kind of stuff, hook your camera up, that kind of stuff, and come on over. And again, if you guys don't want to be on camera, but you want your voice, like even just a voice to be in, I get if your hair's all messed up, you look all funky, you know, I don't care, whatever. If you don't think you look cool, I get it. Come in, let me know, and then we'll turn your video off and let you just be on audio. Like that's something too that I don't know how to do, but we'll figure it out. So let's see. So I guess you got shop upkeep. And then past that, what if we yeah. I guess you got vehicle prep. I mean, does that sound like a good next step? Is vehicle prep? Because I think this is someone too who's just learning. Like we're not teaching them the actual like film handling side of things yet, is kind of what I'm thinking. That we're more eventually, yeah, for real, Brian. There are so many lives going on, man. Again, chilling with Shayla is going on right now. You know, Michelle Gonzalez's first show. She's got Jessica Lady Shady Journey getting on. So feel free to go on over. That's probably gonna be a lot more fun than this. This we're building for long term, and I'll probably end up moving this to a different time. If this is when Michelle's doing hers, we'll find a different time for this because I don't want to step on anybody else's live, man. And I don't want to compete with anybody else's live. I want them to have their live, you know. So Gilbert says also coming up with a plan of attack. So expand on that if you would, Gilbert. I like that, especially like when the vehicle comes in with a plan of attack. Is awesome, especially like on the retail side of retail tent when you're looking at a vehicle, and especially if it's something you've never done before, you know, which is awesome. Eventually, again, we may remove these around, but these are gonna be overarching things. I like the idea of something I learned early on too, was what I call reading the car, right? Discovery almost. Yeah, Dustin, I agree with that, man. With upkeep at the end of the day, and I think that's something that could be taught. End of day. Now, I like the idea too. Like, if someone wants to do something at the beginning of the day, I think like you mentioned, the best move is to do it at the end of the day. Let's say you get there and you need to do something though. Yeah, Bill even says vacuum and mop. I don't know if some tenters are against the vacuum by all means, right? My biggest thing is when I'm tinting, I think I can handle it for the most part, as long as the exhaust isn't pointing at the car. If the exhaust is blowing off to that side of the shop and my car is right here and it's even blowing that way, I don't mind as much. But like Bill mentioned with the mopping and Gilbert just mentioned with wetting, I like that. If you're going to do anything at the beginning of the day, it should be wet. Wet, period, because you can't start things out right before you pull it in. But I definitely think a big thing too that like Dustin mentions, I think, is going to be like if this is like at the class even, and this is going to be the tough part too, because if we're doing like a high school class side of it too, like teaching the kids to stop in the last like 5 to 10 minutes and actually do some cleanup is going to be awesome thing to teach and instill. The hard part is they're going to come back into class after several other classes, and the consistency, I guess, might be a little bit hard at first. But when we get back into like an actual shop setting, then yeah, I definitely think end of class / day, really just clean up. I mean, talking taking trash, putting all the film scraps in the floor into the trash, sweeping up because you can sweep at the end of the day, sweep up. Make sure there aren't any blades. I mean, if you really want to teach real safety, I know most of us probably aren't like the most safe we can be, but I definitely think we can at least teach somebody to pick up blades, or at least the big thing too is if we're going to be teaching like a new generation of tenders, is go ahead and try to instill that fact of like using the blade, the blade disposal cases. I think is going to be huge, man. And then even if like we got a way to do a magnet on there and kind of like to clean up around the floor too, I think would be awesome. How long are the classes? That's a good question, Dustin. And Jesus is on here. Jesus, if you could answer this, that'd be awesome, man. Because I know they kind of vary a little bit. Sometimes they have block classes that are longer. Sometimes they have shorter classes. But I guess that's a big question too. I like that you bring that up, Dustin, because I guess the question too is, can this be set up for one specific class? Like, can schedules be? I don't know if they change schedules around it, but I guess how what is it? What kind of durations should we set out for on this? And that's a good one for Jesus. Yeah, Jesus, I guarantee you need to work on blade safety. We'll find a way to get you some of those. What are they? Disposable cases. I think that's something that all your students have to do, man. Because again, once it goes in that case, it's hard to get it back out without destroying that case. And that's way too when you've got students, you've got the blades in a safe place, man. I like that, Corey. Someone who's new would need to be able to do that before because here we go. So a big thing that I think is important too is if we're making this like an apprentice style program too. What's up, Letha? I think a big part of it. If anyone wants to jump on, I'm gonna post it in here again just to make sure you guys know like that you're more than welcome. I don't want you to lose the link, but you're more than welcome to come in. If now I forgot where I was going. If we're building this as like a how do we say it? Like an apprentice style program, in my mind, I would like to if I was a business owner, I wouldn't want to start teaching the most important money making skills to someone right off the bat until they've proven they have the right attitude. And I think it's the same with some of the students. I think it should be the same with some of the students of like, hey, you've got to get these core things down on cleanliness before I show you anything with film, because so many people want to dive into just handling film and they learn how to shrink, they learn how to handle film for the most part. And then they're like, well, hey, my tin always comes out dirty. What do I do? And then they go back and learn cleanliness after they've already put a bunch of bad work out. So I think it's going to be super important. And let me know if you guys agree or disagree to really teach that cleanliness and shop upkeep kind of stuff, and even maybe vehicle prep right off the bat. And then, like Corey mentioned too, about pre and post vehicle inspection, about like showing them that kind of stuff, how to look at a vehicle first before you ever go into working with film. Yeah, and we'll get to some of that, Trey. I see that. It says one thing that helped me with roll downs was to lift the top edge off the car slightly as I'm spraying to prevent the washer contaminants into the film. And I've got some neat tricks that we'll eventually get to there to help keep contaminants from getting in the film too, man. Yeah, I'm gonna have you at one of my classes one day, I think, aren't I? Didn't we talk about that at one point? You and someone else are like, I need to come to one of your classes, so I'll have a class one day. Yeah, please excuse me. I have a sore throat, man. I've had a kid with a runny nose and another kid with a cough, and now I've got a sore throat. So yeehaw, right? Sorry if you hear me chewing on a cough drop here. Yeah, and again, I think we get to that. I think if we're talking a class setting, I imagine if they come to like 2 to 3 classes a week, I think we could start off with like, I mean, at least 1, maybe 2 weeks of just like shop upkeep, vehicle cleanliness. Like I don't know, Jesus, how do you think that would flow? Do you think that would drag out too long? Yeah, Brian. So as a quick recap, Brian, since you're asking the question, make sure we maybe answer for anyone else who doesn't know. Jesus Buhanda in here, this gentleman right here, is a high school shop class teacher, and he's one of the last remaining shops in the area. And he's been working really hard to teach the kids skills that they can take out, especially around films, that they can take out and take right into the world, if that makes sense. So he's been fighting with the class 10. I want to say fighting. He's been working hard to keep his shop and keep things moving along. And he came into one of the groups and mentioned about that he's got a shop class he's trying to teach chin out of. And turns out he's like an hour and a half south of me. So I connected with him, went down, help him out, get him started. And we're at Edge Window Films. We're giving a discount for him for tint and for PPF. And then lots of other people have sent in so much awesome stuff, man. He said he just got a huge package of stuff from Fusion. Let's see, Matt Bethia sent some stuff. Man, who else, dude? He's gotten a lot of stuff, man. And other people have committed to say once we get them a list of what we need, that they're going to send more stuff. So, yeah. So, Jesus, I think you said no. I forget. Was that like the would it drag out too long? So, Jesus, when you click the link, what happens, brother? Because normally when you click the link, it'll take you over to, it'll open up a page in your Chrome, and that will give you it'll show you your video and give you a place to type in your name, and you click join, and it should bring you in at that point. So it's a little weird being on a phone on Restream because seeing the chat's a little bit tricky. Sometimes you got to turn your phone sideways to see the chat, or it's a little weird, but you can at least be on. You might not see as much of the chat, but you can at least be on if you do that. I agree with you wholeheartedly there, Brian. It's amazing how much, especially even on a quarter window, after you do a bunch of cleaning, it's amazing how much on a quarter window you can move around and twist and poke and pull and push and wiggle and stuff like that, and then squeeze you out and it'd be clean with just prep. So let's see. Dustin's got a suggestion here. Let's see what it says. First class shop standards. Second, tools and safety. Third, film structure, how it's made, history. Fourth, vehicle prep and care. Do you mean like, I guess the question here, do you mean by first class, do you mean like the first day? And like on the second, like the second time they come into class, tools and safety? Like, do you think like, and then eventually so it looks like you're talking like a week and a half of classes that they go every other day and then go from there. That's what I'm getting from that. I like where you're going with it. I forget this side. Okay. I forget the whole, the history of film. I mean, and that's going to be my weakness there. I really study skills and that kind of stuff. 100%, man. Tools don't make you a good tenor, man. Skills do. Yep. People forget seals all the time, man. It's a big thing. So I like to break down, if we're talking like that first class, we're talking what you mentioned, shop safety, shop standards. So you're talking, we're breaking it down like that, shop standards, right? We're talking clean floor, no film scraps. Here's something that I could fight on a lot of people. Is I feel there is, Corey said beef jerky included. I feel there is no point, period, to ever put your film on the ground, your liners, scraps, nothing. And I'll argue with you on that all day long. Couple things happen, right? One, safety, obviously, right? Even if you're working on your own, safety is still important, right? Again, man, you got to bend over and pick that up, man. There were a few things I was taught. I was taught peeling right off the car, right? We didn't have a pill board. We're peeling right off the car. When we cut everything, say we're hand cutting a window, every scrap goes on the roof. Cut, go on the roof. Cut, go on the roof. Cut, go on the roof. Maybe like your little triangles that you cut off a corner, they might just get those out of the way. They're easier to knock out of the way, right? There's nothing unsafe about those being on the ground, and they sweep up easy too. Then once you're actually laying the film and you peel the liner off, when you peel it off, you can either, because imagine you're at the door and you peel down, you can either throw it in the floorboard of the car, or you can throw it up on top of the car. It's a big thing. When I was bottom loading, peeling off a windshield and off a back glass for like a sedan, I would peel up from the bottom up in the liner, peel it from the bottom up, spray as I go, and just lay it on the roof, right? Yeah, Cam goes skiing with him apparently. But we got to teach kids, man. So we can't teach kids to go skiing on liners, man. Yeah, we were taught to either put the liner in the floorboard or throw it on top of the car. And then if you get it all on top of the car, the best thing is once you're done, all your scraps go like this. You know the noise. All that crazy stuff, right? And then you take it and you walk over to the trash can, you throw it down. There's all your scraps in the trash can. So then you're talking efficiency too. So yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I'm not even that old, and I don't want to bend over and pick film up off the floor. And then I guess we're getting into What, clean floor, no film scraps on floor, blades go in disposal container. You're right, Cam. Cam brings up a point. If there's dust on the roof, it's liable to scratch. Okay, so one point we'll get into with I want to get into that bit too is not just shop standards, but also cleanliness on car standards. I guess I don't know what you would call that, dude. Like, I guess would that fall under shop standards? Vehicle care, I guess, falls under shop stuff. But yeah, there's dust on the roof, it's liable to scratch. I think you're right. I think that also really depends on the car. So what might be a better way than putting it on top of the car then? I guess is the question. Because in my mind, throwing the scraps on top of the car is they're super light and minimum, and then by bunching those up, like I like to roll. I guess I am pulling them across the top of the car. I guess then if we're not putting it on the car, and I can see that, I can see really if this is something we're teaching like long term and really trying to instill like the right practices up front. I like the idea of like Cameron started of yeah, so the floorboards, yeah, but what if we taught to have a trash can on both sides of the car with an open lid? Like, would that make sense to throw it towards the trash can? Some of it's going to fall on the floor still. Maybe like if you're hand cutting is going to be taught later on in this, but maybe if you're hand cutting. Oh, here's something I would do sometimes. If it's just like two fronts, when I cut, like, let's say you've got your round spot and you cut that triangle off the top, right? To just trim that before you hand cut. I'll take that and put that on the windshield sometimes and put my scraps on the windshield area. Might be a good way to go, but it's kind of tough to do that on the back window too. I like the idea of trash cans on both sides of the car. And if you have to, have one in the back too, you know? I like the bed for safety. I really like that. The hard part I hate is sometimes then you got to climb into the bed and get little pieces out. Yeah, the class doesn't have pillboards right now, but I think it's definitely something that needs to be taught to at least have one. I think, in my opinion, I think a bare minimum of one pillboard behind the car is the way I like to work off of. In the last position I was in, all we had room for was one mobile pillboard, right? It was a really tight shop. And I could have the pillboard behind the car. Oh, I can't jump on the phone right now, Jesus. Let me see what we can do. Nope, then he hung up. Hey, try texting me, Jesus. I'm sorry, man. But so I had one pillboard behind the car, and that way I could work the back glass off of there if I wanted to, and then I could lay out all four of the doors on there and go from that pillboard down the side to the driver's door, that pillboard to the back door, and vice versa the other way. So I like this. I think one thing this brings up, Brian, a question this brings up in my mind is when we're looking at trash can lids with holes cut out of the top, I think it's very clean. My only worry is if I'm not like within arm's reach of the trash can, I ideally for efficiency, because I'm an efficiency freak, man. That's why I love business systems so much, right? If I'm 2 car lengths from there, I'd like to be able to take the liner and throw it over there. And then if that didn't work, I can walk over and put it in the trash can. And that's something that worries me about the holes cut out of the top is they work great for stuffing better, I guess, because you can just carry that over and take it and stuff it in and pull your hand out. And even if it hangs out some, it's going to stay in there. So I like that. But I also like the idea of being able to like toss my tent if I have to and not take those 2 to 3 steps, man. Look at Dustin, dude. Let's put a vacuum in it, man, that sucks air. So you can take your liner and just hold it over and let go of it. And it just goes right through it. That would be awesome, man. So we're talking trash cans as part of shop standards, right? I mean, you got to empty them regularly, I guess. Yo, Cam. Ideas aren't worth much, bro. It's the action. And I think you should work on that. I think you should start that action right now. I'm going to take it off of here. So hopefully nobody sees it. You should start that, bro. Yeah, pocket. I like a pocket in that door. If you got like a door panel cover, that'd be neat to have a pocket in it. Big round pocket that you can just like peel up. If you 2-stage, you can peel up and shove in there. So I guess you're talking about there too is if you 2-stage, if you bottom load, you're at the pill board, right? Peeling off, sticking in the trash can, and then going from there. And from then, I guess, Brian, that makes sense of having the hole in the trash can. If you're at your pill board and you peel your liner off, you're right there, right? So then you're talking, if you've got a pill board at the back of the car, a trash can on either side, maybe a trash can on one side, maybe a mobile trash can that goes with the pill board, and 2 stationary trash cans on either side of the car, maybe. If you're talking like for real efficiency. And then you've got 3 trash cans, so one of them doesn't get filled up too fast. I mean, the mobile one's going to get filled up the fastest. Hey, Andrew, thanks for coming on, man. Yeah, I know, dude. I forget that there were some other lives today. And, yeah, so I apologize to all those people who had those lives. I was sorry. I'm very sorry. I'm sure Chillin' with Chayla is fun. I'm going to go back and watch it tomorrow. So I would be watching it tonight, but yep. So, damn, Corey. Yeah, I wonder if the high school budget will allow that. I like it though, man. I love it. I mean, for efficiency, I love it, dude. And trash cans aren't too much, man. And if you guys, and I'm sure we could find some of the Tent Fam. So one thing we're working on too for Jesus is I'm working for a page on the Tent Fam website where people can go in and donate to help him out, because the school will give him some money, but they're not going to give him enough money to really keep this going. And oh, nice, Tim's got both of them going. So I think if we could build a page out to donate money into and start to build up a list of who's given, donors, who, not what they've given or how much, but just who's given and how much total has been raised. And that way we can take that money and we can use it for Jesus to help him out. So Andrew, thanks for jumping on. Anyone else who just jumped on, we're building the Window Film Shine Apprentice Program, and this is meeting number 1, right? The Window Film Shine Apprentice Program is Shine, structured, hands-on, industry-based experience through this, initially building a high school class out to help out Mr. Buhanda. And then after that, we're going to move over into a, what's it called? Like in in my mind, I see a decentralized apprenticeship program, and I don't want to take up too much time talking about it on this live. I'll make some videos kind of explaining my whole mindset behind that. I'll probably make it into a reel or something like that, and I'll just put it out to kind of see what people think and start that conversation, man. But tonight we're talking about some of the early on stages of building out a high school tent class, I guess, is a big thing. Yeah. Yeah, Brian, it all starts with something, dude, and you got to make it, man. I learned with my whole snap tip concept about vehicle specific window tint pricing that an idea doesn't do much, man. Ideas aren't worth much. It's the actual implementation, the action is where all the value is. So, oh, and now we got Jesus on the laptop. Let me put the link back in, Jesus, so you don't have to dig through the chat to find it. Jesus is on a mission, man. So, Man, it's awesome to watch Jesus, dude. This dude cares about his kids, man, and he sews into these kids big time, dude. They call him Mr. Bahana because he's a teacher, you know. But yeah, it's really awesome, man, how much he fights for these kids, man, and works really hard to help these guys out, man. So shop standards. So we're talking about clean floor. What does clean floor mean? Let's break that down. We've got sweep at end of the day. I mean, you could mop at the end of the day, but some stuff's still going to settle overnight. No matter what you do, some stuff's going to settle overnight, especially if you're sweeping at the end of the day. So what if we taught? I mean, I've had sometimes where if I felt the floor is the problem, I'll take a my sprayer, my tank, and I'll put like mist setting, and I'll just like mist it all around me. Sometimes even I'll mist. You see people do it, mist a little bit, wait a second, then peel and spray, right? Yeah, now I'm crunching on my, they call it cough drop. Maybe mop at beginning of day. And that's really like a maybe or slash possibly. Because I guess if you're teaching equipment, here's a good question. Equipment goes into shop standards. I think so, man. I think especially if you're talking like the upkeep of the equipment, I think that definitely is. You know, about like, because I mean, yeah, you're filling bottles. Anything needs. If it's the beginning of the day, and you're working out of pump bottles, you got to fill up as many bottles as you have at the beginning of the day before you really pull a car in, right? If you're doing kegs, it's a little bit different because you can mix up a lot more at one time with the keg. But heat gun is a big thing. Yeah, I like that. So I guess we'll take this Blaze Go and disposal container. We'll break this up: blade safety and heat gun safety. I like that. And as part of blade safety, blade tips in disposal containers. Heat gun safety, or since we're here real quick, real quick, I see this. This is my dad, y'all. I don't know if y'all have met him at any of the events, Mr. Bill Murray himself. That's how can we donate. So, Dad, I'm going to build that Tent Fam page. And that page, so I gotta be real. That page is going to give you two options to donate. It's going to give you can donate through your card, like a debit card or a credit card, or you can donate through a bank account. So I use Stripe to process payments. Stripe charges 2.9 cents plus 2.9% plus 30 cents. I'm just going to, for easy math, I'm going to round it up to 3, right? So 3% of the donations, if you pay with a card, they're going to go straight to processing. If you pay with a bank, Stripe charges like 0.1%, I think it is, with a maximum of $5. So if you wanted to give $100, you could give it through your bank account. And don't worry, like when you enter your bank account info into your browser sends that info directly to Stripe, right? Stripe charges it and then forgets about it, and then the donation is made, right? So none of that payment information ever hits my servers. It goes from your browser directly over to Stripe. So if you want to give bigger amounts of money, I highly recommend using a bank account. But if you want to use your credit card or something like that to give, there'll be ways to do those too, man. So we'll make room for that, Dad. But while we're at heat gun safety, real quick before I forget this, how do we say it? I don't know if I can call it storage. I think stowage. I mean, I know that they sound the same, but when you take a heat gun, you put it down, right? How do you put it down? If you want to take really good care, thanks, Phil. Appreciate you, brother. Thanks for coming on, man. If you want to take really good care of your heat gun, I set it with the back down pointing up so the heat escapes out from the heater element up and doesn't go through the electronics. I'll give a link. So Dad asked this too. I'll give a link when we get it, Dad. I'll post everything up. I don't have the page finalized yet. I got a few more things to build. This guy, when he puts his heat gun down, he runs it over. But tip up definitely. And there are some I see people with heat gun holders. They take them and put them down. That's at least better than laying it on its side. But when you put it down, what happens is all that heat that builds up in that heater element goes up through and across your fan, a lot of times across your board. So the DeWalt, I think the DeWalt or Wagner heat guns, whatever the heck they are, I think it's Wagner. The Wagner heat guns have a, let's see, I got something up here that resembles that at least a little bit. Let's say this is the heater element, right? Let's say this is blowing out this way, back here's your fan, your handle, all that kind of cool stuff, right? So right in the back, they've got this thermistor back here, and then they've got the heater element in front of it. And there's this board back here where the heater element winding starts. And back there, they've got a thermistor. And that thermistor is one of the biggest causes of why that heat gun messes up. Especially, you guys have all had a Wagner gun that you get out, you start using a week later, it quits working, right? It's that thermistor back there. And those are, yeah, and Brandon brings up a big point. Then that's kind of what I'm hinting at here is those are the what tear up. And if you take that heat gun when it's done with all this heat up here and you put it tipped down, then all that heat comes up. And I get if you're just sitting it down for just a minute to pick it up and use again, and like if you're doing like wraps and maybe using it for PPF stuff, that's one thing. But with tint, it's not too often that we're just using it really quick, sitting it down, using it really quick, sitting it down. We maybe use it really quick and point away and come back. But when we're done with it, we always sit it down and go back to work, right? So that all that heating element needs to escape out. So yeah, like Brandon says, like they're designed to sit on the back and point up so that heat can kind of run up and come out. So I think that should be a big thing. I guess we'll call it storage, man. Heat gun storage. Like um heat gun storage when finished. When finished or like between cars or something like that, I guess is the way to put it. Um I mean, sometimes they will, dude. I mean, just to be real, dude. Sometimes you run over. I've got it one sitting over here on my workbench that's missing a whole back corner. I can't stand it up anymore because I broke that whole back corner of it, and now it just either lays over, and I'm like, well, I'm just going to use it until it's done, right? I think also too, I guess it would make sense because a lot of us end up, if we're talking heat gun safety, a lot of us end up with a heat gun tattoo at some point. And I think it's going to be important to put something like the Fusion Afterburn on the metal end. I think it's just gonna be a safe way to go, man. Especially if you're gonna teach with like the big fusion heat guns. And I think those. I'd love to hear your guys' opinion on this. I think something like the fusion heat gun is a really good learner gun, or really good on tougher shrinks because of how well it spreads out and it keeps from having like a hot pocket in the middle. It spreads the heat out a lot more and blows a lot more air, so it cools things down a little bit quicker too. But yeah. Oh, this is a good point, Brandon. I like that, man. Afterburn also saves cords. Uh, if you ever set a heat gun down and touch a cord, it can save a cord, which can essentially keep a kid from getting electrocuted one day. So I think that's gonna be an important safety piece too. But now you got me brain farting, man. Oh, the fusion heat guns. I think they're really good for learning and for really tough shrinks, especially early on, where a lot of us, once we really get rolling and get rocking and rolling, we want that small heat pattern, a lot of heat, man, of like a Wagner gun, and we work better with it. Or I teach when we first teach, we take Wagners and I'm like, hey, look, you can't learn right here with the heat gun this close to film because you can't read it that fast yet. So you got to get your heat gun back a little bit and work nice and slow. And eventually, when you get to like a more experience, you can get your heat gun this close to it. So, um, Brandon hit the money on the head right there. I think we should stop teaching people to tie the cords and go with a product that's made for that. Locking extension cords are the shit. I never saw them. It's one of those, like, once you see it, you're like, well, duh, this is a product, right? But there's a new tent world that opened up here in my town. So I went up to see him, man, because I before the guy opened, I heard he was opening a tent world, and I'm like, bro, let's meet, let's have some coffee. And then his guy's Aaron McCurdy, awesome guy. But he when I went looking through his shop and just kind of checking out, I saw the drop reels had freaking locking things on. So you plug a heat gun in, you flick the lock over, and it doesn't pull out. I mean, if you were to like wrench it out, it would. But in normal use of pulling around, especially like when your cord gets stuck around a tire and you got to pull it out and kind of like whip the cord, like it won't pull out, man. So I think that's awesome, man. I think what you're getting at too there, Brandon, is I think we're getting like a tool list um, that I think we can put as like in a thing down here. I have to at least type that down, man. I can't not type that down because that cannot be forgotten about. So even if we don't put, oh Tim, you don't pull your cords don't pull out. So I think we need to at least put that on here so that does not get forgotten. Even if we just come back to it at some point when we stumble back across that, I just want to make sure that does not get forgotten. Period. Um, shop something that Dustin mentioned. That's right. Tools, tool care, tool care maybe is part of this. Yeah, man, it happens, dude. I've got where is it? A scar down here. Is it this hand? I think down here on this hand. It's a little hard to see now. It's been so freaking long, but I had a scar down here for a long time from a heat gun. I never got the face that you see some people get sometimes on on Facebook. Those are wild, man. When people show you the actual the heat gun grill burned into their arm, because you know they're stuck with that for years, man. It's going to take like a decade for that to get out of there, man. Maybe 4 or 5 years, but woof. Inventory. I think that's a good thing too. At some point, Tim. Uh, so let's see. We're at shop standards. Where do we go into? I think that's if we're like breaking things down into like standards of doing things. I think inventory is, in my opinion, inventory is part of like management. Um, yeah, I think. Yeah, I know, Jesus. That's why we're here for you, brother. We're here for you, man. We're gonna make sure that's part of why I want to do this, dude. I want to make sure that we set the right standards for these kids from the get go, so that they when they because my whole dream with this right with this high school class side is I can't imagine or I imagine this kid graduating high school right, and now it's all like all right, well go get a job, and especially if they graduate in summer, bro. If they got some experience, they can go right into a tent shop, dude. So imagine like they go right into a tent shop, even if they come in as like an apprentice level, man, of like, hey, look, I've got some experience. I've got a decent bit of experience, right? I want them to be able to judge, like, I'm gonna go work at this shop, right? Well, is this a legit tent shop? Or if I look around the shop, am I coming in and being like, no, this shop is not run very well. It is not clean. It's not kept up. They do not hold themselves accountable. Like I want the students to also be able to see that. And I want the students to have at least enough strength to be able to interview this company they're going to ask for a job at the same time. Now they're going to want work, right? But I don't want them to fall into the first tent job that they may find or the first PPO job that they may find, right? I want them to be able to look at 2 to 3 jobs and be able to pick which one they think is going to be the best route to go for them. So like that's part of what I see too. And that's part of why I want to make sure we teach these standards as early on as possible, man. It's so that we can teach them how to discern for themselves what is what looks like at least a good opportunity and what looks like a bad opportunity. So oh yeah, eventually we'll get there too, man. I mean, and a lot of this safety stuff is gonna be a big thing. And before we forget too, man, Brandon talked about this too. There is, I don't know how much shops may want to spend on it, but there's an actual tool for this that slides under a piece of plastic that slides under tires that keeps that from happening too, man. I don't know what you would call it, a tire cord saver. I don't know what to call it. I know what that means though, so that's another one of those I don't want to lose. But I like the idea of tennis balls, man. Could you post a video of that one day for us, Brandon? No rush, brother, but that would be awesome. Even if it's just a couple pictures to see, I think that'd be a pretty neat thing to share for everyone, man. Would make a really good reel if you want, man. Oh man, please do, Tim. If you got 3D printers sitting around, please do. I've got a 3D printer sitting around. Don't tell Corey Ashby, but my 3D printer isn't doing much right now. And if I had something I could use useful with it too, man, like I wouldn't mind making some stuff for it. We'll put them on Tent Fam. My man, cool. Yeah, I'd love to see that video again, even if it's just pictures, man. Like, I'm a nutcase for explainer videos, man. I love to explain stuff, man. So if you want to do that, go for it, man. If you just want to take a couple pictures in the show, do that, man. I'll make sure I share it, dude, wherever you post it. So Yeah, I think this is something that I think most people understand, and I think this is super important. Don't ever put a car seat back in the car where it even remotely looks like it's strapped in, man. I can't tell you, man. Tired parents might not check, man. To be real, dude. They might just see it sitting there, especially if it's a base. They might just see it sitting there and click their kid in. Um, it happens, man, and not often, but that happens, and it's tragic. So yes, please don't ever put. And that's something I learned early on too. Don't ever put it in, and make sure you tell your customers too, man. It's a big thing. Like if you see a car seat in there when you check the car in, even if you wait until they get back and you're checking them out, make sure you tell them, hey, by the way, your car seat is not buckled in. I put it in there sideways to make it obviously not buckled in. I had to get in your back seat. I prefer telling them up front, hey, look, I see you got a car seat in here. I just want to let you know this is what I got to do. 'Cause I've got to climb in your back seat. I need all the room I can get. But at least tell them when they pick the vehicle up. Don't make them walk out to their car and then see it. Like, let's please have communication. Uh, yeah. Roger, that's an awesome thing, man. So I'll talk about that more on Monday. Mondays are going to be live specifically for Tent Fam, and I'll talk about that more on Monday, man. But I'm still compiling, still getting people in, still building them. We've got some already made. I've got this guy's card already made, so we've got some more coming. I just got to get them full designed, and I'm kind of like doing it slowly because we're trying to get 100 different people at once before we really start giving them out. So we've got a good mix of decks that we can randomize and put out there. So it's a slow process, but it's moving forward, brother. And as I start to finish the design on different cards and get them in, I'll show them off to kind of promote it all, and I'll send some out to those people too. So thanks for asking, man. But yeah, Monday's alive. Monday's Tent Fam. Monday's gonna be goofy, joking around, whatever crazy stuff that comes out. We're gonna have fun with, man. So awesome. Email that over to BFM. That's Billy freaking Murray. BFM at tentfam.com. So back to here. We got a little bit more time. I think we got a good start here. I think a lot of this coming up to like how to categorize this stuff, man, has been a big thing, and I appreciate everyone's help on this, man. So should we call this floor care or scrap care? How do we put no scraps? I can't just say no scraps on floor. We got to do something about film scrap. Maybe. And straight maybe. That music's acting weird. I don't know if you guys can even hear the music. But so Cam, I think this is an awesome thing, man. And this is part of like what I want to teach, like what I want to do. I really think it's important at some point when you start getting into actual like film care. I think it's important to break down terminology. Is a big thing. I want these kids to be able to speak the lingo, right? So that it makes it easier to teach with. So I think that's definitely important too about like what the tools are called, what some of the uses are. Because again, the thing to think about with not even just high school, but with overall teaching is people take things in different ways. And if we're really going to communicate all of this stuff to as many people as possible, this one program has to communicate it in several different ways, if that makes sense. That way we can somebody just said something that I'm about to get into in a minute too. That way everyone understands like what everything is and stuff. Yeah, someone said something that threw me off. I know I brain farted there for a second, but it happens, right? Squirrel. Tim says, I need dark but legal film. So this is something that I wanted to bring up. I brought this up with Jesus, man. I made sure I told Jesus, I was like, look, man, if you're going to be teaching these kids how to tent, you need to make sure you 100% in your class do not allow illegal window tint. As much as I hate to say it, most of us don't really care. but we can't teach in a school, man. I mean, when you're in a shop, people are going to do their thing, right? It's going to happen, man. Um, but when you're teaching in like a high school setting with these students, man, they're kids under 18. Like we cannot teach them that illegal window tint is okay. Are they going to do it? Probably at some point, but we cannot let them do it in class, man. I mean, I think that's just a an obvious thing, man. Like, so yeah, so I think part of that too is terminology. I would shop. I mean, would that go in shop standards at all? What would we do with uh legality? I guess that is a technically a shop standard, man. We'll find somewhere to put that. If it doesn't fit here, I have to do it. The hard part is this takes out a lot of windshield stuff. If I think with Edge we have a Clear Comfort 90. I need to look at some things. I need to measure some windshields and see like if that could be a an actual if that could be allowed. Because if we can get away with putting 90 on windshields, then we can teach them how to tint a windshield. But no, I totally get this, guys. Like all this, like in Colorado, yeah, 15 to 20 are the highest selling films in Colorado, period. Um, Cam says I'd be out of business. Like I know, man. I get it. From a professional standpoint, I get it, right? Once these kids leave high school, and honestly, once these kids leave leave high school, they're most likely, most of them are going to be 18. Some of them graduate early, right? They're going to leave at 18 and go off into film shops, and it's going to be what it is, right? That's completely fine. It's on them at that point. I'm just saying we can't teach kids to freaking we can't teach kids to put illegal film on a car. Like we just got to take that. These are kids, they're under 18. We can't teach a minor that breaking a law is okay, is the best way to say it, man. But I totally get it, guys. Once you get into the professional world, you do your thing. Police don't care about most of what we do. In most places, they don't really care. And I get that. But when it comes to yeah, we will, Ryan. I totally get that. But when it comes to legalities, man, we can't teach a minor that it's okay to do something illegal. I don't care what it is, bro. Like, I don't care if you want to joke about it. You're like, no, that is not okay. I do not condone that. You're not allowed to do that in class, period, right? Even when you get to trade schools, when they're after 18, that's a different thing, right? Like, that might be something different, but you can't teach a minor that it's okay to break a law, period, done. All right, cool. So we'll talk about legality. Even from like sides and rears, windshields. Because these are kids, dude. I don't want a 17-year-old with a freaking 30% windshield, man. What's up, Jackson? Thanks for coming on, man. Ryan, thanks for coming on, dude. So I'm almost done for tonight, guys, but we've started so far building out. We're building out a high school class, man, that's going to eventually turn into a decent, and I'll make more videos about this, kind of tell you guys what my overall goal is with this. But we're building a decentralized window film apprenticeship accreditation program. So basically, in the long term, businesses can train someone from the ground up and have a structure with which to do that. And it means less people have to go to some school somewhere and pay to learn and then think they can start their own business, and that's no big deal to start their own business. I also want to teach that value of, as an employee, from an employee's perspective, finding a good leader to work for and having the value and the skill set to where when you find that person, you're valuable to their team. And you can join their team, man. Because yeah, I'm tired of people. I'm tired of hearing the whole, I just train my competition and it's easy to start a business, that kind of stuff, man. And I want to teach more of the value of teams is a big thing. So we're not quite so isolated everywhere, and we can build pockets of bigger and better teams, man. So yeah, and Letha, I think, I won't admit anything here, but I think 50% is a great film on when it's on a windshield. We'll put it that way, right? Yeah, 100%. We're teaching legality even in these high school classes. I had Jesus by. I think our Edge has about like a 32 or 35%. I think something like that. that's what the kids will work with on sides and rears. And eventually, Jesus, like they can put 5% on the back of a truck or something like that. Like we can teach them that, no problem, man. But we can't ever let them put 5% on two fronts is a big thing, or even 15, really. So I can go over that, and we'll get that in there, Jesus, to kind of teach you more about like what the actual legality is. So you make sure that you guys are only putting, even if it's just for practice, you still can't put 5% on two front windows, man. It just can't be allowed. Yeah, our legal limit in Colorado is 27%. So a lot of times if you put about anywhere from like a 30 to 35, it gets you close enough to where no one bats an eye. But I want to say a 35 is going to be enough to make sure that we're actually like putting legal film on there. So you're just not even going to buy 5%. I get that, bro. Yeah, because that could keep kids. I mean, bro, let's be real, man. Kids sneak stuff. Kids sneak stuff, man. Like they'll take it, man. And if you got I can see Aces. If you got 5% in there, they might take some 5% and put it on the car. So I totally understand that, man. I get that. I mean, you have to gatekeep razor blades, man. You got to gatekeep that kind of stuff. These are just kids who don't know a whole lot about working in a shop and working with their hands like this, man. What did I say? Film scrap straight to trash can. Sometimes in floorboard. I mean, if you want to be like, let's just do this. Let's just teach straight to trash can, man. Let's just teach that, dude. Because again, if you're talking like in the floorboard, you're losing efficiency. And if you've got a trash can on both sides, again, you're pilling from, if you're bottom loading, you're pilling from the pill board, you're going straight to trash can anyways, right? If you're two staging or top loading, you're, sometimes people cut some liner off on the board. Sometimes they get done and peel it and throw it off. So let's say you're at the door, right? What if you're at a door where there's not a trash can in a good place? So I guess that works on trash can placement. Placement around shop. Emptied every emptied end of day, we'll call it. Trash class. I think this is neat too. So when I worked like 3 months at a Yamaha plant where I laid the golf car went to a shop and got taken apart, the frame cut, chopped, stretched, floorboards put back in, and then it came to my area where we put it all back together, ran wires, added batteries, hooked throttle cables if it was gas, all that kind of cool stuff, right? Well, they had these really neat safety razors that you had to hold in your hand and you slid out to cut, and when you let go, it goes back in. I wonder with that. So check this out. Yeah, Eric, this is a big thing we've gone over. And this is a huge point. This just like helps bring like importance to this point, man, of like liners do not go on the ground. I've had trainees like at my last job, like they'll lay the liner on the ground and I immediately look at my, what's that? What are you doing? Like, what's that for, man? Like, what are you doing? Like, and just call them out on it, man. Like, no, like, oh, I'm just doing this. Like, no, like, because the shop I was in was really tight. A lot of people walking around to toolboxes, bays, parts, all that kind of stuff. I was like, you cannot leave that on the ground, man. Like, and yeah, I used to get them for that, man. Like, you cannot put that on the ground, period. So, what were we just talking about? Blades. So, I mean, what about this? Like, what if we even, and I guess this gets, so blades are the toughest part, man, because if you're talking an OFA for cutting, and maybe if they're using, what if we could do this? What if we could change this up a little bit, especially for high school class, to where if they're doing a plotter and eventually like kids can build up trust, and when the teacher feels safe enough with some of the kids, they can teach them how to hand cut. So what if we're doing just plotters? And I've even started, especially on newer vehicles, using scrub pads. Like there's no point if you got a vehicle that's only a year or two old. To me, there's no point in razor blading that window, right? I can scrub that window to make sure I break anything loose. I I think I like where you're going, Andrew. We'll address that in a minute, man. So what if we start with a scrub pad for cleaning with and teach a way to scrub pad in the edges some? Because like I scrub pad everything, right? And then I take my Olfa blade and scrape the sides a little bit to clean behind there, right? I've already wiped the seals out really well before I roll that window up. So and Tim mentions the gator blade even. I wonder if we can teach something different. Like when I use my blade to swipe in those sides, I wonder if we can teach something different because yeah, and this is where I want to go, Andrew. This is where I think long term, right? Andrew says no plotter. Learn hand cut first. What he says. What happens when power is off? And I agree. Long term, I agree 100%. But when we're talking first off teaching kids, I like this because it really teaches them to focus on the install side of it. And then, especially if we're thinking high school kids too, I think it's important to think about razor blades. I mean, let's just be real, dude. Like Jesus has had issues with kids taking razor blades. That's a weapon, dude. I mean, in school, it's a weapon, man. We used to get in trouble for taking a pocket knife to school, right? Can't imagine nowadays, and that was, back in the day. We used to get in trouble if we had a pocket knife at school, man. At least it's taken away. But like these kids are sneaking razor blades, man. They can do serious damage with those. Uh, so cameras attack cloth. That's not bad. And I get you, Andrew. I don't want to set them up to fail either. But remember, this is a high school class. This is to help get them exposed to it and uh get them some experience with the install side of it. And I'm with you there too, Jesus. I think long term, 100%, man. They have to learn how to hand cut. But at the same time, man, like a lot of these kids out of high school aren't going to start off with their own business. They're going to go. I would like to teach them to go look for a job first, especially that young, just kind of get that experience rolling, and then eventually save up. And if they want to go their own route, go that route. But yeah, there are affordable plotters, too. Corey mentions, but I honestly think plotters first off is the best way to go, and then like this right here mentions later on, like I even think like when it comes to blades, like if you need to build that trust up, um, if you've got a student who's been in your class, either most of the year or the first year, they're into the second year. Maybe hand cutting is part of a second year class, or maybe we can set out like a plan to prove that kids are trustworthy or something like that, man. Because I mean, I imagine I've never taught Jesus, but I imagine halfway to 3/4 of the way through the year. What's up, Cash? Halfway to 3/4 way through the year, that you would know like what kids you can hand a razor blade to and would be responsible with it, and what kids that you're just like still like, no way I'm handing you a razor blade, man. Um, so because I mean, what you're getting into if you're handing razor blades to kids, you're getting into management, right? Um, you're getting into managing the segments of that blade, even like case that you actually use, right? So let's say you take this knife and you say, hey, there's a sign-in sheet or something like that. You sign your name on that sheet, you get a knife. If you don't give me that knife back, I don't know. You never get a knife again. I don't know, man. I like RLs. I like this too. This is kind of where I'm going with this too. RL is then let's say you've got something like that. Well, then you've got to manage the sections, because what if you give a student a blade with 7 sections on it and you didn't notice, but they gave you a blade back with 5 sections. Now they have 1, maybe 2 pieces of a razor blade out there, right? So you got to be able to manage that too. So it's almost like a sign out form, right? And if they want to break a blade off, they need permission or something. I don't know. It gets into a lot. But yeah, I like RL's thing. Like if you got groups and yeah, tell us what else, Brody. You handed 45 razors to him. And how'd it go, man? Because I mean, I guess it depends too, man, like on what area you're in. Because I mean, there are problem students somewhere, man, but some places there are a lot of problem students. But I mean, with that safety side, man. Trey even mentions like this too. About understanding OSHA rules too, man. So, God, my throat's hurting. tattooing the blades. Yeah, see, like, look, I'll be straight up, man. Jesus isn't in a very privileged part of town. I mean, they're they've taken money away from the school before. Like, they've straight just taken, like, no, like, you guys don't have enough students, and just straight taking money out of them, man. So, yeah. So I guess so. Blade safety is a big deal, man. Yeah, someone's gonna do it eventually, man. So, yeah, I think that's gonna be a bigger one. I don't think that's anything that's gonna be figured out anytime real soon about how to manage that, man. And there might not be a, how do we put it, a risk free way to do it. There's gonna be a way to there's gonna be some risk inherent in razor blades. Period. I guess is what Brody mentions here too, man. I can see that. I mean, it's a razor blade, dude. Like, if you don't lie, you've cut yourself. You've Some of you have been tenting for 10 years, man. You cut yourself. I've cut myself before, man. I got a slice in my leg from where I got into a rush one night. I was trying to get home and get a car done. So instead of taking my blade off, right, and snapping like normal, I stuck my blade out and hit my leg and meant to like push like this on my leg, but I went sideways too quick. I ended up filleting a little piece, a little flap of skin about that wide, and just filleted it right off my leg, man. And had to, bandage it up, put it back on, dude. Cut a hole right through my jeans, everything, man. So, yeah, see? So, I mean, I've done some dumb things before. And that's one of those, as soon as you do it and you slice your leg open, you're just like, oh, man, like, I can't believe I did that. It's obvious that that was going to slice my leg up, right? So, yeah, I think that's something that we might just have to figure out. And might just have to, Roger even says, like, weekly cuts, man. So that we may have to have like we mentioned here about a whole like blade safety. Like little things like don't ever hand someone a knife like this, like with the blade out. If you're handing a knife, like it's become such a habit now. Someone asks for a knife, I'm like, here you go. Like little things like that. Um, safe way. So I mean, we're gonna teach safety, man. Is a big thing. Hey, and I hear you, Andrew, and I think I agree with you on the long term, but I think we're also trying to get them handling film first and then learning how to cut it. I think is a good thing too, man. So it's a forever debate, man, about which way is a better way to go. I mean, in the long term, if we're teaching like a skill all year long, I think hand cutting is its own course, and even working a plotter is its own course. I mean, they're two completely different courses, and I don't even think. Uh, yeah, I think they're both. I mean, honestly, in my opinion, I think they're both just as important, man. Yeah, see, this is just a habit, man. It eventually becomes a habit, but you're talking years, man. Like these kids in these classes are in here for an hour and a half, 2 or 3 times a week. So they're not going to come out of school even with enough experience to like really run with it. They're going to come out with enough to like feel comfortable at least making a leap, more so than just diving in. This brings up a point too, man. There's nothing you can do if these kids are working with film. One of them's going to cut themselves at some point with film, just like paper cuts. So, all right. So, what teach safety? A big thing, man. I think blade safety is going to be part of it, a part of what we teach. So cool. I think, guys, it's been 8 o'clock. I think I'm gonna be jumping off here in just a second. So I like this. I like a zero tolerance. I don't know about policy exactly what you mean after a certain period, but I like uh, red tape. don't know if red tape's the right word, man. But like if you cross this line, you don't get to hold a blade. You know, or at least after a period, right? So if you do this with the blade, you don't get to hold a blade again until this long. So I like that, man. Just to help show like the seriousness of it, man. Like we'll come up with some kind of zero tolerance policy. Um, Jesus, I'll call you a little if you got time, let me call you a little bit later. I gotta put my daughter to bed right after this. So, well, I don't want to do that, Cash. Like, how about we go 2023 and we're teaching this so safely that we only get in glass cleaner and a rag. How about that? Hey, when it comes to like my actual apprenticeship program that I'm going to recommend to teach, it's going to be this, dude. It's for you're going to hire someone at a 90-day period, and I'm not going to teach you how to handle film for 90 days. Like, if you really shine, maybe. But at first, man, like you got to learn stuff. You got to prove your worth. If you got a new employee, man, you got to put them through the ringer, some, and not put them through the ringer, but like, what do they do when they go to the ringer? What do they do on a stressful day? How do they do? Do they shut down? Do they stand to the side? Like, what are they like? So there's so much, man, that I want to work on with that, man. But yeah, I like this, man. Trey was even shut off. He's like, no, you can't touch a blade. Yeah, dude. I've even seen experienced guys just get in a rush, not paying attention to leave a blade sitting in the back seat of a car, dude. When I at my last job, man, we had 48 stores. Not all of them are tinting. I would probably say at least 35 of them had window tinters at them, right? Dude, people would leave a blade in the seat and hop in the back of the seat, and a blade goes 1 inch blade goes right into the frick. I don't know what they're doing with the blade in the seat like that, anyways, or 1 inch blade doing a back glass, but they would do it, man. Um, they'd hop in there, and you would hit that blade and go right into their leg, dude. And they got to get surgery and stitches and shit. So yeah, people do dumb stuff with blades, man. Sorry. So yeah, I think this is an awesome start, y'all, and I really appreciate everyone jumping on, man. I think this is gonna work. We'll keep rolling through. Like I said, we'll probably find a different time because I don't want to step on chilling with Shayla. Over there, Michelle Gonzalez is going to have her show at this time at 7 o'clock my time, 8 o'clock Central. I don't want to step on her, man. She's going to be awesome. So I'm going to change the time for this, and we'll find a time, man, that works for everybody. 7 o'clock my time just works amazing for me. So I'm going to jump off. We've got an awesome start. I'll find a way to make this. I may save a backup, and we may have a way you guys. I don't know if you guys can edit this or download your own copy, edit, and then send it in or something like that. We'll have to figure that out at some point, man. But yeah, this will be a start, man. So I really appreciate everyone jumping on tonight. I really appreciate. Yeah, see, Lisa's even been jumping back and forth, man. I'm sure it's an awesome show. I'm sorry I missed it. Jay actually told me earlier, said that he was like, I told him the live was going on. He's like, what time? He's like, hope it isn't 8 p.m. And I was like, Central. And I was like, that's exactly when it's going to be. So, yeah. And part of that is what we're talking about with this whole, what you mentioned there, Cash, about this whole like clean floor, what to do with film scraps, heat gun safety, trash cans, all that kind of stuff, man. So yeah, thanks for jumping on, everyone. I hope we can keep this growing, keep this moving forward, man. I really appreciate being here. I think really great like this with definitely Cash. I think really great like this with people feeding in and feeding back and taking good ideas and mashing multiple good ideas together for it to make it work, man. So I appreciate all of you for coming on. I appreciate Tent Fam. And again, Monday at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, 9 p.m. Eastern, we're gonna start jumping on some Tent Fam stuff, and we're gonna have a little bit of fun with that. That's gonna be way more fun, not near as dry and figuring this out like this. We're gonna be joking around, having a good time, coming up with fun jokes for the magazine, coming up with fun article ideas for the magazine. I'm gonna try to get some of you to commit to an interview that we do off air. So yeah, that'll be fun stuff, man. See ya Monday at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. So thanks, everyone.